Still there? Welcome, everyone. My name is Terry MacLeod. I'm the Chair of Planning and Heritage. A few notes to mention. The Mayor, Philip Brown, will be late. He's at a Special Olympics meeting, but he will be here. I'll first like to introduce the council that's here this evening. So to my far right, we have Councillor Mike Duffy. Next is Councillor Terry Bernard. Next is Kevin Ramsey, Julie McCabe, Alana Yankoff, and to my far left I have Councillor Bob Durong, Councillor Mitchell Tweel, and right beside me is Councillor Jason Cody, Deputy Mayor. So I have a few speaking notes. So Alex Forbes has declared a conflict in 38 Palmer's Lane, and he'll be leaving the room for that application. We only have the one room this evening, which is the Victorian room. The planning board members present is Chris Fournier and Bob Kenny. Joining us via WebEx is planning board resident members Basil Hambley, Rosemary Herbert, and Shallon Murray. We have no members from the public WebExing in. So hand sanitizers and wipes are available in different sections of the room. You may take your mask off when you are seated. However, you must wear masks when moving around the room. Water stations are available in each of the rooms here at the back. Hotel staff will clean the mics after each resident provides their comments. Order of the event of tonight's presentations. There will be a brief presentation by staff, followed by a presentation from the applicant if they choose to do so. And the applicant is given 10 minutes to present the application. Council members will be asked to will be allowed to ask questions for clarity, remembering not to give their opinion on the projects as they are to remain neutral. The general public will be given an opportunity to speak. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes in which to provide their comments or to ask their questions. We will start with residents who are here in the main room, the Victorian room, right after the presentation. So while a member of the public is speaking, others are asked to show respect and decorum to all participants, maintain quiet and order, refrain from disturbing the proceedings by words, gestures, or actions, including applauding, displaying flags, placards, or similar material, refrain from talking on electronic mobile devices, and ensure that all electronic devices are put on the silent mode. So moving on to the meeting itself, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Any declarations of conflict of interest? I see none, thank you. I need approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Kevin Ramsey, seconded by Mike Duffy, Councillor Duffy. Thank you very much. All those in favor? Good. Thank you very much, everybody. Discussions. So we're going to go to 4A, which is the corner of Towers Road, Mount Edward Road, PID number 390559, 390534, and 390542. I'm going to let Laurel Thompson take the floor and do the explanation of the document. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council, members of the public. This is a request for input on final architectural design drawings for townhouse dwellings located in the CDA zone on the corner of Mount Edward Road and Towers Road. This development concept plan proposal proceeded to public consultation on August 13th, 2020. And on September 14th, 2020, Council passed a resolution to approve the proposed development concept plan, which included a site plan and building renderings. The applicant has submitted building permit applications for 3 of the proposed townhouses, and staff have reviewed the working site plan that was submitted with the building permit application, and the working site plan is consistent with the approved conceptual site plan that formed part of the development agreement and that was presented to the public last year. However, there were some changes in the design and use of materials from the architectural drawings that were submitted for building permit approval compared to the building design presented at the public meeting last year. As per the CDA zone requirements, final architectural design drawings and working site plans for the development of a property are required to be resubmitted to Planning Board and Council to ensure consistency with the development concept plan. And the bylaw states, subsequent to approval of the development concept plan, the working site plan and building shall be approved on recommendation of Planning Board for each phase within the CDA zone, provided it is, in the opinion of Council, consistent with the overall development concept plan and any schedules attached thereto. So at the October 12th Council meeting, Council deemed the changes substantive and referred the townhouse design back to public meeting to advise the public of the revised plans. So concept plans presented at the public meeting last year in August. Building renderings showed a more modern design with eaves and window trim that was flush with the building walls. Exterior cladding consisted of a combination of vertical metal siding and horizontal vinyl siding with wood and brick veneer on the first story. So right along here. Building articulation consisted of staggered single and double style bump outs with gabled roofs. The bump outs included a facade with 2 garage doors and bump outs with single garage doors. So you can see some of the bump outs had double and then single. So the architectural plans and renderings that were submitted with building permit application the building renderings show a more traditional design, with eaves having a 1.5 foot to 2 foot overhang. Window trim consists of vinyl trim around vinyl windows and stone lintels and trim on brick facades. Exterior cladding consists of a combination of brick veneer and townhome units and horizontal vinyl siding on other townhome units. Each unit will either be fully clad in brick or vinyl siding. So some of the units have brick, some have vinyl. The windows have lintels above or vinyl trim around them. Building articulation consists of single bump outs with gabled roofs along the full face of the building. Each bump out has a single garage door. So you can see each unit is a single bump out, and they have their own individual garages as opposed to sharing 2 garages that the proposed design last year had. So the reason why this has been brought forward to the public is because the building design and materials for the townhouses differ from what was approved through the public meeting and subsequent development agreement. The concept plan was exactly as shown at the public meeting. So this is basically here just for to make the public aware of the design changes and any comments that they may want to provide. The developer, Mr. Tim Banks, is here to answer any questions and to speak briefly on the project. So if there's anything you would like to ask him, he's here as well.
Does this work to?
Yeah.
Okay, they're right.
And then forward and back.
Okay. Council, members of the public, thank you for coming to the meeting. We live here, and we're proud of what we built here. My family's been here since 1767, and my Uncle Cody was one of the few people that decided to move his family to Sherwood, and that's what this is all about. It's about a guy that worked hard in his community. In fact, we have a rink that's named after him, the Cody Banks Arena. I think one of the councillors there played hockey on his team. And he built a family, and it's kind of funny, one of his daughters still lives in Sherwood, and her daughter lives in Sherwood, 3 generations of them. And he was a bricklayer, and in 1966, he built his home in Ferndale Drive next to the first home that was built there which was Harry Largess, and the Cooks, and we all know the names in Sherwood. They all built family homes. I'm a very fortunate guy in the sense that this is the development that my company and my team, APM, or Pan American Properties, whatever you want to call it, own 50% of the development with my partner company, Killam Properties, which I'm a founding director of. And it's a public REIT and a very well-heeled company. Now, what we're dealing with here today, I'm just going to go through it quite quickly, and then I'll come back to my points. This is the original overall concept for the development, and the yellow part is a land that, when we purchased the property, we deeded back to the city so the city could have a future road to connect. It was a requirement of the development agreement that we signed. That deed has been given to the city, and the land has been turned over to the city.
Excuse me, Mr. Banks. We're here this evening to just talk more about the architectural design.
Okay, let's go.
So, if you don't mind, thank you.
So this is the original concepts, and this is galvanized siding that's right in front of me. We want to talk about it. Now, traditionally, below Euston Street, we have to go to design review, and that's where we bring a set of drawings in, and we have them architecturally looked at. In this particular case, our development agreement was for the concept of bringing 350 new homes, family homes, into the community. So in this particular instance, as she was showing you the bump outs, this is the actual drawing, and this galvanized siding extends from, I think, whoops, I got to go back here. How do I make the pointer? Press and hold the top button. So this siding comes around the corner, goes up around the corner, all the way down right here as you see it, and up around. And it's really a commercial product when you really look at it. And after a number of years, it gets pretty, how should I say, farm-looking in a neighborhood that is supposed to be a nice neighborhood. Unfortunately, that's what was approved. And so we've decided, and in respect to my uncle, who was a bricklayer, who put the foundation of his home with concrete block, did the face of his house with brick, and took angel stone into his fireplace, we decided out of respect to redesign our development, spend more money, make a more quality, better quality project. I think the planning staff, and I'm pretty sure planning board, accepted it. And here's some previews of it. Concrete curbing, and real brick, already ordered from L.E. Shaw. In fact, we had to buy it so we can get it for June. That's what kind of pandemic supply issues we're into. These are just visual spaces in the front. And what it's all about, again, is about a community and building a community. The units that we originally set out to do, and these units are bigger. They're 2,600 square feet. They're way above the existing marketplace in Charlottetown. They're built for families. In my uncle's case, was 7 kids brought into a community that didn't even have a rink when he got here. It had an outdoor rink with lights on it. And that's how you build communities. But you build them with respect and with quality. You can go to our site and you can look up Sherwood Crossing and you can go into details what we're going to do. And when I say I was a lucky guy, in this development, we're going to put apartment buildings. But I'm trying to build a community. And to build a community, you got to put nice homes and people that will respect the surrounding area in order to build a good community. It's all about families. And in the development, we have the first phase. The first thing I chose to do was do the first 3 buildings that you see in the lower corner, and they're bookend with brick. And we've done lots of projects with different facade changes in the city or around the city. Here's an example, Charlotte Court. It was a rezoned property, and our original drawing showed a bunch of siding on it, and we decided to go a little better and upscale it. We didn't have to come to a public meeting. The same here, the new affordable unit that we did. Harley Street, the same thing. We stepped up our game. If you go across the street and you look at the other 3 buildings we own, we really stepped up our game on the quality of the product. In fact, we put solar panels on the roof. It's all about investing and putting good finishes on our buildings. Now, here's what's been approved during the time why we're sitting here tonight. These are buildings that have been built within the last year that have occupancy. People are actually living in them and getting occupancy permits. And I'm trying to build a bigger family home in a neighborhood to expand the neighborhood and keep investment in the community. There's no sidewalks, there's no curbing, and all my drawings that the city have show all of that on my drawings. These are all vinyl. There's no brick. There's no detail to them. Quite a sidewalk up to the building. Quite a landscaping. This one's really good here. Not even a sidewalk from the street. That's from the street. That's the street elevation. And I'm here saying to you that this is going to look awful. This is what we're going to look across at. There's not a piece of landscaping on it, not a piece of brick on it. There's nothing. Now, I'm not saying there's something wrong with it. I'm just saying to you that I'm building an investment across the street that's going to raise the level of the neighborhood. There's their site grading. There's their streets. No curbs, no gutters, no storm drainage, no... Right across the street from what I'm trying to build. This is my development agreement. We're not here tonight, as they said, to talk about anything but other than change here. And I'm out here, like, I guess, you want me to get my hands and knees or something? In the development agreement, it says clearly and unequivocally, and if anybody wants a copy of it, call our office and we'll send it out to you, clearly and unequivocally, that the parties agreed to negotiate all matters or disputes arising out of this agreement reasonably, in good faith, and with a view to reaching a mutually satisfied agreement. So you know how that negotiations went? They had a sheriff serve a document to my partner, the president of the Killam over in Halifax, a stop work order in the project. That's how that agreement is.
Excuse me, Mr. Banks, so you're down to roughly 30 seconds left. And,
sure.
And try to stick
to
order.
We've built 14 apartment buildings in the last 10 years here, 9 of which are in the Charlottetown marketplace. We've done 568 units, 158 affordable, 50 to 100 jobs in each project. We support our local community in services and supplies and whatever. And ahead of us, we got lots of other projects to do, and our investment in Sherwood Crossing will be $95 million of capital investment and taxes for the city.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Banks. Before I open it up, the mics to the room, I thought I'd ask council if they have any questions for either Laurel Palmer-Thompson or for Mr. Banks. Okay, I see none from council, so when you get up to speak, we would ask that you just give a general area as to where you live and your name, please. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Pino. Live on 71 Mount Edward Road, and we have another 5 properties on the same block as this project on the other end of Mount Edward Road, including a number of rental units. And I want to say a big support to this project. That's a big upgrade from the proposed original modern design. It's more with the look and feel of the area, and we're very supportive of that change, which is before you today, and the overall addition of those affordable rental units to the market. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, my name's Doug Macarthur, and I have a few comments I'd like to make. Number one, I think we're a long way down the road to be considering architectural drawings. This project has been around for a while. There's several $1 million worth of construction already done, some of it with no permit in place whatsoever.
Excuse me, Mr. MacArthur. We're here tonight to speak about the architectural design change in the plan. We've already gone through a public meeting, and we're here to talk about architectural design. Thank you.
Well, I'm talking about the architectural design. I'm saying it's very late in the game to be considering this. I'm opposed to the architectural design. Can I say why?
You certainly can.
Okay, I am, because I think that these sorts of things should have been dealt with in the first place, and the developer should have stuck to them. Also, the application, this very application, is being made by Pan American Properties, not by either the owner of the property or by the developer of the property. And in most places, this is not allowed. As nearby as Summerside, the owner has to be signed on applications. It can't. So my concern about this is whatever might go forward, it needs to be tightened down much more than it has been so far. There's been every problem on this project you can imagine. And so I guess I can't say very much more about some of the issues, but I'm very much against it. And I think if you call a public meeting, then the public should be heard, not told not that they can't speak.
Thank you very much, Mr. MacArthur.
Hi, I'm Tracy Barrett. I'm the property manager for the Charlottetown Mall. The Charlottetown Mall is currently undergoing a major redevelopment, and they're investing major capital dollars to improve the retail component, as well as add a variety of service and office space, and to have a development such as Sherwood Crossing in such close proximity to our center certainly would not only help our center, but also the residents as well as the retailers that occupy the mall. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm Jean Reed, resident of Sherwood for 47 years. My husband's actually Don Reed, who has the appeal with IRAC. But the question I have is one of clarity. But first I want to ask Council, can I have all the leeway that Mr. Banks had with my topic? I'm just joking. I know you're not going to give me the time to stray from the topic as he did so skillfully, as he's used to doing. So this is a question for Council, for clarity on just the whole thing. Does the approval of this change in the facade of the townhouses, does that allow the development to proceed, like for you to just then, you've approved the facade, so now Council will vote on new bylaws or allow the next stage to go forward automatically? And does it allow it to proceed through the stages despite the appeals that are now with IRAC? So those are for you, Council.
Thank you very much for your questions. So I'll give it a go. So this project is already underway. There's different processes as you go along, and permits are required. And at this stage, there was a change in the architectural design. So the planning board and council came up to the idea that it's enough change to have the public think, you know what, why did they change, right? So that's why we're here tonight, is to bring forward to the public that there's a change in the architectural design of the building, okay? Because if you look at the picture on the billboard, it shows the other. Now you see a nicer, everyone was in agreement that this is a nicer design, but the public needs to know, right? And that's why we're here tonight. And then further to your question with IRAC, with my understanding is that IRAC procedures are as is, and we have nothing to do with that, and the developer and the city can carry on business as usual until IRAC makes a decision.
So just further to
Please
clarity,
go.
but
But
I just want to, it's not quite clear on, so if the approval comes through tonight, or you guys vote on it after the facade approval, what happens next? Are permits issued then for building the townhouses? Is that how it goes?
well, the permits have already been approved for building, but I'll let Laurel, if you would like to, just she'll explain the full process, but the council will not vote tonight. Council will be voting at the next
Right,
council meeting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I'll let Laurel, the planner, to
Okay.
to just describe it a little better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We got Alex Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, the question, one of the questions is, can this application proceed if there's an ongoing appeal at IRAC? And the answer to that is yes. As a part of the building permit, the developer's been put on notice that if anything happens at IRAC and if they overrule us, that he's, proceeding at his own risk, because they will make whatever determination they make. But there is nothing to preclude him from proceeding, and this isn't the first time that this has occurred, where a developer has proceeded when he's awaiting a decision of IRAC. So the other question was, in regard to, so this application will go back to planning board. We'll take in the public input we have this evening. Staff write a report, goes back to planning board. Planning board provides a recommendation to council. And at the next council meeting, council will make a decision for this phase of the development, these 3 townhouses. So he has permits for the foundations. He will be, if council agrees to allow him to proceed, he will be given permits for the balance of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Hi, my name is Don Reed. I'm a resident of Sherwood and live on Ash Drive, and I've been there for 43 years. I'm just going to be short here. I'd like to just point out one particular issue, and that issue is that do council feel it is prudent to move forward with approval of the proposed final site plan when condition 1, a condition imposed by council at the first reading on November 9th, 2020, has not been satisfied. That condition states that the city's traffic master plan confirms the development does not conflict with the proposed site plan. And I still, to this day, that condition that was imposed by this council in front of me.
Has this got something to do with the siding? Like this, what he's talking about is under appeal at IRAC, and he can go,
Yeah.
that's what it is. It has nothing to do with this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Banks.
We're here dealing with this siding issue.
So, Mr. Reed, thank you very much, but I gave a little lenience. I was giving you a little lenience.
Yeah.
But you've gone too far, so you need
Okay,
to stick
thank
to
you.
It's under appeal at IRAC, and
Thank
it
you,
will be
Mr.
decided
Banks.
there.
We got it, thank you.
But that's not answering the question that I just posed.
IRAC are going to answer the question. That's what they do. That's their job.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or concerns, folks? I see not. Thank you very much for all the questions and for the presenter and for staff. We'll now move on to our second application of the evening, which is 38 Palmer's Lane. Mr. Forbes is leaving the meeting. This is PID number 275156, and a portion of 40 Palmer's Lane, PID 275164. And Laurel Palmer Thompson has the floor again. Thank you.
Okay, this is a request to rezone the property located at 38 Palmer's Lane, right here, from R2 low-density residential to R3T medium-density residential townhouse, and a portion of PID number 275164 from R4 apartment residential to R3T medium-density residential townhouse development, this portion right here. And to amend Appendix A, the official plan map from low-density residential to medium-density residential for PID number 275156. The property is bounded to the north by Palmer's Lane with R2 zone land, properties on the opposite side of the street. To the east by 2 properties zoned R4 apartment residential, transitioning further east to mixed-use corridor properties. So the R4 is here, and then there is commercial properties further east. To the south was single detached residential R1S zone properties down here. And to the west with low density R2 zone properties. So this application to rezone one lot, PID number 275156, and a portion of the adjoining lot, PID number 275164, approximately 0.6 of an acre in total. The main property is currently zoned R2, low-density residential, and it is vacant. The portion of the adjoining parcel also being considered with this application is occupied with parking. The proposal is to construct 2 townhouse dwellings consisting of 1 4-unit building and 1 8-unit building on the property. This is the site plan. This would be the 4-unit, and this is the 8-unit building. The bylaw requires 2,099 square feet of lot area per unit for a townhouse and 1,507 square feet of lot area for stacked townhouse. The property under the R3T zone can support the proposed 12 townhouse units. Staff would like to point out that the highest allowable density in the R3T zone are townhouse dwellings. Apartment dwellings are not a permitted use in the zone. Greg Munn from Sable Arc Studio is here to present the project, and if there's any questions, I am available to answer them afterwards regarding the bylaw, and Greg is here to answer questions regarding the project.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of council, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to talk about our proposed development for Palmer Lane. And as Laurel had mentioned, that this lot here, let's see if this works. Cool. Okay, this lot here where we're proposing to put the townhouses is to the west. Again, these 2 apartment buildings are high density. Excuse me, and St. Peter's Road is right here as well. So there's a lot of commercial and high density use right here. And then beyond this empty lot currently, it turns into residential along there. The purpose of this project is to provide a gentle transition between the high density of the east end of the street and the west end of the street. And we also wanted to do something that was contextual to the city and to the neighborhood. So at the far end of Palmer's Lane is Ardgowan, a historic home of Father of Confederation, and right across the street is this what was at one time, most likely looking at it, a late 19th century farmhouse when this whole area was farmland outside of town. So in particular, we use this house here as a precedence for our lot, which is in this photograph is in this space right here. And these are in the snow, but this is the lot here showing in behind the area here. One thing about this proposal is that it's going to be able to share the stacked townhouse, which goes here, and I'll show you in a second, but I wanted to point out this parking lot that's existing, and it's actually far too big. It's a sea of asphalt back there. So as part of this development, there's ample parking there to accommodate the new building that is going to be here, and we're actually going to be able to make that parking lot smaller. So there's going to be more green space, and we're going to be able to better address runoff from the site on this. So you can see right here this dotted line, for instance, that area is going to be returned to green space. There's a lot of existing trees around it. This actually doesn't give it justice. There's a lot more trees along this line here, which will separate the more higher density area of development on this side, on the east end of the street, and the residential on the west. The other thing about the lay of the land is the street goes uphill at this point, and it also slopes to the back. So the roof of this house, of the row house, is from this corner, for instance, is approximately 25 feet. The house that would be just here is a 1.5 story shingle home, and but it's uphill. So, in fact, the roof of the 3-story apartment building to the east and the roofs of this that gently step up will be roughly the same level as the house to the next. So again, we feel like this is going to be a good transition between the higher density and the lower density of the site. And you can see the similarity, or just the precedence that we're using with the traditional windows, clapboard siding, and the peak facing the street, and this 1.5 story on the street, so that it blends in and even makes the buildings even seem more diminutive than they are. And then there'll be this lane that goes in between the existing building right here, and you can get a glimpse of the block townhouses in the back. And what that means is on the first level of those townhouses is I'm going to go to the front. These will be one level apartments on units on the main level, and then there'll be a second door that goes to a two-story unit above, and that's a block townhouse. And these are the backs of the houses that are going to be on Palmer's Lane, so it has a walkout basement with a garage in the back. So parking will be taken care of within the houses of the row houses, and as I said before, there's ample parking right now to accommodate the new building. And again, right, even making it a smaller parking lot than we have. And really, that's I think that's the gist of what I wanted to say about the building. Just going through my notes here quickly, but I think the key word here is transition from a busy intersection, St. Peter's Road, to the east, and then the residential area to the west. And if this does not, I was just thinking about this. If this lot is not changed into a R3T and it remains an R2, that I can't imagine anyone wanting to build a house here that's going to be living next to this high-density apartment building. But these buildings actually will be a medium density, and they'll actually provide a buffer between noise and the view of all the commercial projects and buildings to the east. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Munn. Before we go to the mics, I'll just ask council if there's any questions for either Laurel or for Mr. Munn. Councillor Durand.
Hello. I'm just asking you, Mr. Munn, like you stated that, once you get to build this, you can deal with the runoff. Like, can you deal with the runoff now, or why wasn't it dealt with? Like, is Is that something that you have to build before you can deal with
Oh, no,
that?
it's dealt with now, but there was some concerns that people were saying that, you know, there's going to be higher density here, there's going to be more parking, there's going to be a bigger parking lot, and there's going to be a runoff issue. From my understanding, there really isn't an issue with it, but I was just kind of allaying those concerns that, you know, this will not be built if there was going to be any runoff issues. And again, indeed, we're making the parking lot smaller.
I just have a couple questions here. So you also asked, you know, who would want to buy that lot if it's not developed like that? So right now, it's an R2 lot, is it not?
Yes.
So I know in Sherwood, various places, you can, you know, buy an R2 lot for 120,000. People are putting big 3-bedroom townhouses on it. You know, when you say no one would buy it, I would think that if you put a for sale sign up, some developer would buy it and build some, you know, what the zoning allows, which would be an R2, which would be a duplex. Is that correct?
That would be correct, yeah.
Okay. And when you also said it's going to be a stacked, the 8 units at the back, so there's 4, are they 4 1-bedrooms on the bottom
Yes,
and 4 2-bedrooms?
2 bedrooms above.
Okay. And I noticed in your plans, there's not a whole lot of green space if you're using the parking lot there. Is there a place, like if families wanted to move in to play or anything like that?
Well, there is, the line isn't shown, but there is this green space which doesn't exist pretty much right now. It goes back to a fence. There's that. But also behind the house here, let's see if I can go back. This here, it shows it a little bit. But we pulled this building as absolutely as far west as we could so we could get this large green space in behind. And there's a row of trees between it and the neighbor. So there's a good sized yard back here. But it is you know, urban living here. Yeah, that area there. Let's see if there's any better. Yeah, this area up in here, the property line is back there somewhere. So there's some green space, yes. And it drops downhill from the street in that direction.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dwong. Any other questions from council? Councillor Twill.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. You outlined Art Gowan.
Yeah.
You talked about the apartment buildings, but you looked at the entire street and did an inventory. What would the inventory tell you in terms of single-family homes versus apartment buildings versus what you're proposing here tonight? What would the inventory tell you? If you go up and down the street, what would it tell you?
There are duplexes and larger homes across the street, and as you go up the hill, there are bungalows from, say, the 40s through to the 60s and 70s, all the way to the far end, and then our Gowan is at the other end of it.
Right.
There's a variety of homes there.
Variety, but would you say the majority is single-family?
Yes.
Okay, good, we've established that. Was there a traffic study done on the street? See what the impact and effect would be. One of the things I keep hearing since the boundaries of the wards have been redistributed is that tremendous problem with excessive traffic already there now, speeding traffic, excessive traffic. Has any thoughts been given to investing in a traffic study?
Hate to punt, Laurel, but do you have any comment on the specifics of the traffic study?
Yes, this is a 12-unit development. It's not high-density development. It wouldn't warrant a traffic study. The load for 12 units on that street would not create traffic impact. I'm not a traffic engineer, but in dealing with developments like this in the past, this would not be something that would be part of that.
could we engage in a traffic engineer to give us that, that accurate information? So council, in its deliberations, will be able to make an informed decision? I think that'd be prudent. Would it not?
It would be a very costly requirement for a 12-unit building.
Sir, have you had the opportunity to canvass the neighborhood and talk to the neighbors to get their thoughts and their ideas and what you're proposing and what they would like to see?
Yes, and we did send out sent out an email to some of the neighbors to share this package and this design and description of the design to people in the neighborhood, the concerned members of the community around here. And we've had some positive feedback that they feel, for the most part, that this development is a nice compromise to add some density and add some families, but not be on a high density project. And we've had very positive feedback on that.
Would you say that you had positive feedback with the residents are going to be directly affected by the development, sir?
How do you mean?
Well, next door neighbors that are very close proximity. Did you receive favorable feedback from the residents that are going to be mostly impacted by your proposed development?
Yes. Yes, we had neighbors that were very close by who said they feel like this is supportable.
Is that information sent to City Hall, Planning Department? Do you have that, Laura?
I don't have a letter from the particular neighbor, but I did speak to one of the neighbors that did seem like they were.
I'd like to get all the information, if you don't mind, sir. Can you
Absolutely.
forward that information on to the Planning Department?
Yeah, totally, yes.
Thank you. No further questions at this time.
Thank you very much.
I have another one there.
You're on?
Yeah, I know, we have a package here. Would you be able to give us a brief history of this lot? There was a single-family home on it at one time, was there not?
There was.
There was. So there was a number of different applications for this lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe there was a certain number of units proposed, and then it dropped down to another certain number of units, and now we're at another certain lower units. In the IRAC appeal on this type of land, was there any recommendation on that? Like, was that because there was too many units, and then if you went lower, maybe you could get it approved? Is that correct?
Are you directing that question?
Well, I don't know who can answer it. Maybe you?
Well,
Laurel, could you speak at the podium, Mike? Just
yes, I think that would be better.
thank you.
Just to clarify, Mr. Munn is the architect for the project, and he would not have this information, the permit history. There were a number of applications over the years filed on this property. There was a request on April 6, 2009 for an apartment building, to allow a 24-unit apartment building. The recommendation from planning staff at the time was to reject the request to proceed to public consultation. In March of 2010, there was an application brought to a public meeting to consolidate the two adjoining R4 properties with 34 Palmer's Lane for the construction of 3 duplexes. That was also rejected. The last appeal, staff did not support the application. It was supported by council, however, to approve an apartment building. It was defeated at IRAC, and at IRAC, staff did speak to the application, and we were asked in IRAC what we would support and what we felt was good planning principles for that property, and we felt that anything that was townhouse like or a semi-detached would work along the streetscape. We did not want to support a higher density development that was larger in bulk, mass, and scale than the existing apartment buildings and the adjoining single-family dwellings. Therefore, the architect worked to design a project that was transitional along the streetscape and would provide a transition between the higher density development and the lower density development. And this is the project that's before us tonight for council to determine if they want to approve it or not.
Okay.
Okay, thank you there, Councilor
Oh, you're here.
Durant. Yeah, no, I was at the Special Olympics Awards and Annual General Meeting. Sorry about the lateness, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Okay,
One more question.
sure, go ahead, sir.
I don't know again which one it is here, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot.
That's right.
You're just designing it, right? It says that the city has experienced a demand for housing, and this proposal would provide additional options for housing within a mature neighborhood. That's one of the positives here. But when I think there's no affordable housing initiative in this group of townhouses or anything, is there not?
There's not.
There's not.
There's not.
So do you think we're still experiencing a housing demand? You know, I can go on Kijiji and get 9 pages of apartments. I can go on to Facebook Marketplace and get another, apartments that are available to rent. And it might not be for affordable, but I'm just saying, like, if you put this in, are we still experiencing that? As an architect, I don't know if you would answer that or Laurel would. Just because, you're trying to get your head around, it's a big development, and I'm just thinking, is that viable to use?
Are you suggesting this development is too small?
No, certainly not. I'm just looking at it, when we have a sheet here, it says positives and negatives of what a development would bring. And the positive here is we're experiencing demand for housing, and this proposal would provide, to help out with that demand. And I'm just wondering if the city is experiencing housing to this level. I don't know what the units would rent for. It's just in my mind. Are we still in a housing shortage?
I think we will be for years,
For
yes.
this type or at this level of rental income?
Actually, if you're asking my professional opinion, we're experiencing shortages of housings at every level in this city. And it's a growing city. Density is going to hopefully rise throughout the city. And it's like the parking issue. Yeah, it's in the traffic issues. They are issues to deal with, but those aren't project by project. It's kind of a citywide planning strategy that needs to deal with those sorts of issues. I'm not saying that that's irrelevant in this case, but density is increasing throughout the city, throughout the island, but especially in the city. And there is a housing shortage at all levels. So I think this is an appropriate design for an appropriate location, and at a medium density that will act as a buffer from the high density and commercial St. Peter's Road to the residential nature of Palmer's Lane.
This is my last question.
Councilor Durant, I'd like to open it up to the audience too.
Well, we're supposed to do the council first.
We can come back to
This is the one last question.
Yeah, one last question,
Now,
because
how do you feel that this is a buffer zone? So these units are 12 each, I guess, are they? Below them?
There's 4. Let's see.
The apartment building below it. Is that-
This here, yes.
Is that a 12?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. It's at least 12.
Okay, so this is so you have a 12 and a 12, and this is gonna be a buffer from those to the.
Well, along the street, it's from a 12 to a 4 to a 1, and there are 2s across the street, and there's 2s up the street, and there's more apartment buildings at this end. So instead of going from like another 12 to a 1, or putting another 1 and 2 to a 12, that, consider this as being a 4. And when it has this building in behind with another 8, but, I think it would be much more we wouldn't be able to argue the appropriateness if this were, say, a single 12-unit large building here. That probably would not be appropriate. But we do feel that this is a transition, as well as this as well. It again, as we're discussing, it supplies needed housing, but it also will be quite fairly hidden from the street. This is downhill, and this, even though it's a 3-story building, this roof is going to be lower than this one. So I think the perceived notion of the street, it will blend seamlessly and fill a gap.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I
Okay.
thank you for your professional
Thank
opinion.
you, Councillor Durante. Can we just open it and then we'll come back to council? Can we just open it to the general public? There are 2 mics, then we'll come back for wrap-up. If you use any of the mics, we do have staff here that will provide sanitizing. And please just give your name and where you're from, whether it's Charlottetown, East Royalty, Sherwood, North River Road. Just tell us where you're from. Thank you.
Ryan Pino, again, I'm at 71 Mount Edward Road, so just up the street from this, and our family actually walks down this street pretty continually, so I'm very familiar with it. For those councillors that don't know about the green space on that street, National Park on the street, Ardgowan on the corner, as well as a school with a large park, so we're very frequent users of those spaces. It's a real great space and a great place to live. There's also another apartment building up on the far end, right on the corner of Mount Edward and Palmer Lane. So I think you're bookended on each end of this street with apartment buildings. I read the IRAC report last night, as well as this package, as it does have an impact on the area where I live. And, IRAC's, I can't speak for IRAC, but part of the discussion around that was that in a transition from multiple units into a single-family area, townhouses and a medium-density project is the way to go, and this seems to fit the bill in a formidable fashion. They're really attractive buildings. I think it's a great fit for the area. And as I walked down the street last night and then came around the corner to Confederation and then to Gower, I look at what a prior council approved on the corner of Gower, St. Peter's Road behind Nick's convenience store. There's a massive, massive apartment building on top of another massive apartment building right beside single-family housing. So there's no transition 2 streets up from this. So I think this is a nice solution, and offer my support to the project.
Thank you, Mr. Pino. Thank you.
My name is Jessie Frostwicks, and I am at 36 Palmer's Lane, which is the property immediately adjacent to the west to this proposed development. As soon as we received the notice of this application, I registered to come to this meeting because at the time I had some very immediate concerns. The scale of the project, there were just a number of concerns, not to mention like what kind of a buffer might be between the 2 properties, between our property and this one. But since then, I've had the opportunity to have an exchange with the architect and with the developer. They have, actually, they reached out to me, which I appreciated greatly. They've answered all of our questions that we've posed. They have addressed pretty much every concern that they have addressed every concern that we've raised. Overall, we're very much in support of this project. It's attractive. It blends well. The style blends very well. Unlike any of the previous applications, this one is probably the best that we could hope for that lot. And I'm offering my support for what it's worth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Betty Carroll and I live in 27 Palmer's Lane. I brought up 6 children in that street who lived in 3 different areas. I love that area. And in fact, I'm older now, and I was talking to somebody. I love what's set up there. And in fact, I'm older now, and if I had to sell my house, I'd certainly rent one of those places. I'm really impressed with but and I also support.
Thank you, Mrs. Carroll.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Wicks, and I also live at 36 Palmer's Lane, and have to admit that after all the iterations we've gone through, this is a beautiful development, and it does address a lot of our initial concerns over the past decades. So compliment the architect on this design.
Thank you, Mr. Wicks.
Thanks very much.
Please don't hesitate to come to the mic. I have to recognize MLA Hannah Bell is here tonight. The mic's open there.
Sure. How can I turn down an invitation from you?
We can talk
Thank
about
you.
inclusionary zoning.
Oh, sure. Oh, well, now you're starting. I am the MLA, but I'm also a resident of Palmer's Lane. I live at number 28 in one of the last duplex on the end before we start going down the hill. Hi, Jesse. I had actually spoken to neighbours and to residents on the street to find out their thoughts and reservations given the last experience that we'd had. Obviously, I'm also a strong advocate for affordable housing. And I apologise for coming in late, but I do know that there are, in this mixed development, we're addressing a couple of challenges. And one of those is the desperate need we have for family housing. So housing that will work for families. And I do genuinely hope that when a developer comes to bring these forward, should they go forward, that they do explore the opportunities that are available to access through the province, the per-door subsidies that may allow, if not for full affordability, which is 30% of your income, then at least something that offsets the very high cost of housing right now. This is a lovely area, and I don't just say that because I live there. I would point out, Ms. Cipino, that the apartment building that's on the corner of Mount Edward and Palmer's is actually going to be demolished. It has, unfortunately, the residents there have been given their notice. It is social housing, so we're losing 6 units, and that's something else we need to think about. When we want to see developments that are mindful of community and that add capacity, that we're losing them on the other end, sometimes just as fast. And we're losing the ones that people can most afford. So people who are leaving our community, the lady who walks her dog every day, and the gentleman in his motorized wheelchair, Betty, you know exactly who I'm talking about, they're going to leave, right? Because we're going to lose that building, and they're part of our community too. And so affordable housing means that you keep the nature of your community. And so let's hope that building family housing that works in the way that it looks and it feels, and that works to keep families in the space in such a lovely area, and that work to help tell a story of what that community looks like there, include ones that ordinary people can afford. So thanks very much for the time, and thank you for making this meeting and for the patience that developers have had to keep coming back. It was really important that the residents were heard last time, and that we do have something that is, I'm so happy for Jesse and Bill to say that this is something that they're okay with. And so, of course, that means then I'm also able to give my support from all of those aspects for this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emily. Hannibal? Please don't miss the opportunity to speak for or against. Yep. Yep. Okay, there we are.
My name's Wayne Carver. I'm a former councillor from West River. And I'd have to say that I'm shocked by what I've seen here this evening, earlier. When did a developer earn the right to terminate a conversation from the floor and stomp out of the room after he's made his point? Something wrong here. It really shows who's running the show. And I'd like to see the council step forward, do something about this. City, somebody. This is ridiculous. That was ignorant. But it was done. Nobody did anything about it. We expect more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. And it's about 38 Palmer's Lane. If you have any questions, Laura Palmer Thompson is here, who's the planner. Members of the planning board are here, and also Mr. Munn, the architect. Okay.
Mr. Chair, my name is Philip Carr, and I live on Hutchison Court, Charlottetown. I don't have a direct vested interest in the current project presented before us this evening, but one thing that I did notice is that this design is good. The residents are in support of the design, that it's transitory. It's not just about taking the space that you have and extracting the maximum amount. There's other projects in this city that are currently in front of you. And I would like to see the sort of community support for them in the future, like this project on Palmer's Lane. When you see developers come in, standing behind tinfoil shields and speaking their minds, and in a way, they were in charge of the meeting. They took control from you guys. And that's important to realize. And it's easy for me to sit here behind this mic as just an individual of the community. But when we move forward, we have to think of the community. It's not just about wallets. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we had a issue with 88 Brackley Point Road. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councillor McCabe, where the first proposal that came in, it was modified, and you're going to bring that up? Okay. Did you want to bring that up now? Thank you.
I just wanted to say it is refreshing to see developers come and work with their communities, to hear what their concerns are, and to work collaboratively to come up with the best solution, because when that happens, it runs smooth. And I recall seeing you, many of your faces at the first time the application was here, and we did go through that, the similar for Brackley Point Road, and the stress and the distress that it causes residents when they don't feel like they've been part of having a say in what their community is going to look like. So kudos to both architecture and to the developer for this. It certainly makes it a much more pleasant experience on this end as well.
And also the planner, Laurel Palmer Thompson. Yes. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Councillor Twilley, do you have another question? Yeah. Yeah? Turn your mic on.
The building behind, is that heading towards Confederation Street?
Yes, it's, there are some, boy, maybe I should go back to a site plan. Well, okay, I'll just jump back to the site. Whoops. Okay, there we go. That's it. There. Right here. And then St. Peter's Road is here. So yeah, it backs onto the backyard of this home here, for instance.
Did you have an opportunity to canvass the folks in Confederation Street?
Yes, and we did get comment from someone there as well. And like I said, I'll forward that on to planning. Those were coming in through today. And I feel like I can share those. I didn't want to put any residents on the spot, but I will definitely send those on to Laurel.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right, thank you.
everyone within, I think, a 100-meter radius of this whole area was notified.
That's required in the bylaw, within
Yes.
100 meters.
Exactly.
Just one thing, the one thing to think about MLA Hannibal, inclusionary zoning with the Planning Act. And I can say that in the last 3 years, vacancy went from 0.02% to 3%. Full vacancies at 5%. So not a bad, a very good effort in trying to address the issue, both in the market and the non-market value. And we appreciate the help from the opposition, the government, and the third party in going forward on this. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Can we go to the next item? Thank you, Laurel, who's overseeing the next. Is that your file too? Wow, you're a busy person. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Munn. Do you want to? Okay, Councillor MacLeod, could you introduce the next application, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Our 4C is 25 MacLeod Crescent, PID number 110640 and 1123686. And I'll pass the mic over to Laurel Palmer Thompson. Thank you.
Laurel, thank you.
Okay, this is a request for site-specific exemption from Section 37.1 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw to allow a medical health and dental office as defined in the Zoning and Development Bylaw as a permitted use on the property at 25 MacLeod Crescent, PID numbers 1123686 and 1106400. These two properties right here. If approved, this site-specific exemption would allow a medical clinic containing an ophthalmologist office to be constructed on the subject properties. The request also involves the consolidation of both properties, and the properties are zoned M2 heavy industrial. Although MacLeod Crescent falls under the heavy industrial zone, the subdivision was developed within the last decade, and businesses on the street consist mainly of business park commercial uses, medical health offices, retail, and light industrial uses. And although the M2 heavy industrial zone allows for more intensive uses, it also accommodates less intensive uses such as retail and office space. So due to the nature of the existing development in the area, the property owner has requested an exemption to Section 37.1 permitted uses in the M2 zone. I can answer any questions you may have regarding the bylaw, and JV Javier is here from Coles Associates to also speak to the application and discuss the renderings of the project and the site plan.
Does he want to give us an overview first? Is that what you want to do, Laurel Palmer?
Well, Mr. Javier is here.
Do you want to do that? Okay. Just introduce yourself, please, and who you're, Coles Associates.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, members of council, and members of the public. My name is JV Javier. I'm an architectural designer for Coles Associates, and I represent the Coles Associates, who will be the consultants for this project, and the landowner. I believe Laurel has taken the words right out of my mouth. We are talking about these two sites, and to give you an update, these are currently being consolidated, but the intent here is to build a professional medical office on the site similar to the building across the street, which is also an ophthalmologist office. Currently, the site is M2, and we are looking for a site-specific exemption to build the building as proposed. This will be the third professional building in the vicinity. This will be the second ophthalmologist office. I believe there will be an accounting firm that will be coming in about a week or so. So I believe this adds a bit more value to the property. Currently, the design is still being developed. It's at the very, very early stages, but we did develop the site and the footprint of the building shown as such. We are looking at a about 9,000 square feet of buildings of all ophthalmologist clinics. And these are very early renderings, but we are looking at to break up the massing into something a bit more interesting. So some articulated roofs and forms in there at the request of the owner to make it a bit give it a bit more character in the vicinity. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm willing to answer them the best I can.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, we don't have much of an audience for questions. Do you want to ask a question there, Mr. Munn? Challenge the architect?
I've performed before in a band, and I've worked at rooms like this before, so very, very familiar ground.
Any questions from council? Councilor Twill?
Just want to wish you all the success.
Thank you, sir.
So MacLeod is up by the old Williamsworth MacLeod site, yeah. And what's the square footage again, did you say, sir, of the building?
Of the building, we're looking at about 9,000 square feet, and that's 2 stories.
Okay.
Again, really early in the planning stages, so this is as far as we've gone so far. We are still exploring the materiality of the building. We are looking at a material palette that will really warm up the structure and really pop in the neighborhood, and that is the intention.
Okay. Well, I think it's a great presentation from both you and Laurel, and I think if we have no questions from the table, we can say thank you very much for your presentation and good luck in your venture. And that's the last item on this agenda. Councillor MacLeod, thank you, and Deputy Mayor, thank you for taking care of this. So the next item is motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go.
Thank you.